Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militiaman and Crew here. I want to just thank everybody for being here with us for this this last year or so. It's amazing that I just look at some of the numbers and I see like, wow, we're at like 38,900 subscribers and many more. We're pushing 40,000 people that from around the world that come to see Militiaman and Crew. It's amazing. And thank you so much for the likes. I mean, a 99% like venue is like, really? Thank you so much, you guys. It makes me feel really proud to be able to bring in the news that I get from our crew members, from Samson and all that stuff. It's exciting to know that the team works 24/7 effectively, and our ability to be able to bring the news and analyze it to the best of our ability has created an environment that helps a lot of people. So thank you so much, you guys. Please understand that you all mean a lot to me. I really do mean that. Everybody that's in Patreon, our Discord chat room, I send my love and my peace. And to all of you out there on YouTube too, okay? Thank you so much. But hey, interestingly enough, and this is gonna be a small, brief event tonight because I only have a couple pages. As you can see, everybody goes, are you running out of ink? So, not quite, but we're hoping that, you know, we're winding this down because of the exciting stuff that's happening. And one of the things that's really exciting is Iraq is getting praise from the international world. I mean, the globe, everybody around the world. The largest, 7 of the largest entities on the planet are basically reaching out today. The G7, if you will, an economic contact group of the group of 7 countries. If that's G7, no, maybe not, but they say there's 7 countries. And it says the Economic Contact Group of 7 countries, the European Union, the World Bank, praised Iraq's government, which with continued commitment to economic reform and stimulating the private sector and growth. So these guys are stoked that Iraq is committed to economic reforms, and they're giving credit where due. It says here, the World Bank statement, a quote, the past semester witnessed advanced steps such as the concrete initiative to reform the public banking sector by launching a review led by consulting company and completing Iraq's accession to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So accession means that you're moving up and agreeing with things. No different than if they have a session with the WTO. No different than they have a session to the, I think it's called the TERP or TRIP, the trucking industry union globally. Okay, they've done that. No different than the SCUDA system, right? We all talked about that. That is a global circumstance. We talked about the IFC, we talked about the World Bank, we talked about the Bank of International Settlements. All of these people have a foothold in Iraq, but Iraq's getting praise for what they've done. Completing Iraq's accession to the European Bank. They're telling you, what is this? It's a reconstruction. Why is that so important? Because they're going to rebuild the country. They're going to go international to be able to do so. It's an amazing situation that's going on. So it goes on to say that they talk about the COP conference. They talk about the IECG, which is the Iraq Economic, the coordination group. All of these people, the ICG continues to stand with Iraq on its path towards sustainable and comprehensive economic development. And then more precisely, the group continues its support for ambitious government reform programs, in particular the banking sector, the public financial management, and the private sector development. This is 7 of the largest entities in the world telling you that they are focused in on Iraq. That's huge. He points out that the Economic Communication Group will focus during this period on the following areas. They talk about financial sector reform, public financial management, private sector development, resilience to climate change, and so forth. But in this particular piece, it says the financial, what did they call it? The Financial Action Task Force. So that's engaged because of what? Money laundering, counterfeiting, all those different things. It says here, it says they are in close cooperation with the Iraqi government, and they say that this will require strengthening it to the extension to global standards. So Iraq's in that path to be able to, hey, play by the rules. They're going to require strengthening the extension to global standards with what? The Financial Action Task Force. You guys can look up the FATF on the internet and you'll see what they do. It says basically strengthening ties with international banks, combating the flow of money, in addition to strengthening the role of private banks and insurance companies. So they're going to protect everybody. They're going to try to do the things that they do, just like everybody else around the world, to the best of their abilities, international standards, not just U.S. standards, but international standards. Iraq's going to abide by that. It doesn't matter who you are or where you go. It says they welcome the work of the government and the central bank in reforming the government banks, challenging banking and governance norms. So the norms are no longer going to be the norm. They're going to be international standards. Okay. They talk about the the Internet Budget Law, and they talk about what that means. It says that they will require mobilizing additional cash revenues, including the fluidation of government salaries and reforming the pension system. We saw that in the news, and then we saw that in Parliament recently, that the pension system, they needed to do that. They needed to address it. Why? Because it's going to be a tax on the people. Those pensions need to get paid for. And so they need to do these things to get those other revenue streams to secure those pensions. They were a drag on Iraq, and now it looks like they're not going to be in the future. They needed to establish the unified treasury account. They've done all that. They say that in this article, they say that that's part of the whole process. That unified treasury account, and next thing they say is that the ISCUDA system. I've been hammering this home for a year or two. This isn't something new. They're really pushing on it because it's going to be a revenue stream to like no other. It's going to be competitive to their oil output. Just like their agriculture and their liquid natural gas is going to be competitive to their oil output. They're going to have a very, very strong country. We didn't talk about this the other day, but Iraq's foreign reserves are huge, historic in history, all-time high, and they increased their gold supply another 10 tons. So you can see the direction they're going, and why are they getting praises is because they've done these things. They've done it. Even though it sounds like, well, they're always kicking the can, same old, but it's not true. They've been on steroids. And ever since al-Sudani took office and they allowed him to go to the UN Assembly meeting and then over to Davos, and now that the UN is talking about releasing them from Chapter 7 sanctions, because the mission for the UN effectively is coming to a close, should make everybody think like, wow. So all the stuff that we think that they've been kicking the can, it's all been about what? All of these major entities, these 7, in some cases I think it's probably more than that, have been working to do what? Facilitate Iraq to get into the international world and start to do what? The European Bank is about what? Reconstruction. The development, what do we talk about? Sustainable development. We've been hearing about that. The Development Road Project. Wasn't China just knocking on the door this last weekend? Wasn't there like 1,200 foot long boat with 2,635 plus or minus containers to do what? To do trade, to do business. All of that's just phenomenal. And so also, what is Iraq doing? Iraq has launched a Iraq Fund for Development. And what's that for? It's for rebuilding human capital. It's for helping the citizens. It's for helping the private sector. It's strengthening the continent, they call it, of Iraq. I'm not so sure Iraq's the continent, but they call it that. The state, whatever, you guys. It says here the Iraqi liaison group welcomes the meetings held by the Prime Minister of Shia al-Sudani with the international financial institutions in Davos, brought that up at the beginning of this year, and with the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, the president of the World Bank. You guys starting to get the picture here? They're focused in on this, right? They go on to say that this whole group supports the continued cooperation and international financial institutions that can provide expertise, valuable technical resources, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It says this group will support the work to create the conditions for achieving a final understanding regarding the framework agreement with the European Investment Bank. They're coming to a finality. So ultimately, who are these people? It says Iraq, there's Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, European Union, United Kingdom, United States. Everybody's looking forward to working with who? World Bank. And they're just basically looking at everybody collectively having cooperation. Look, so, excuse me. It says, my view, it says that, in my view, right, 7 of the largest global players, what are they doing? They're telling the world that Iraq, you have our full support. And for what? Going international. So we can see that. This article, I believe, is their way of describing how Iraq is going to go international. And with whose help? Well, those 7. They're going to help Iraq move forward, have sustainable and comprehensive economic development. And these reform programs within the banking sector, whether it's the public financial management, whether it's the private sector, development sectors, all of them have the support of the 7. Iraq has made huge strides in all of the inroads that they've made over the years. The ESCADA system at the taxation, the electronic system at the border, the e-government, the payments, all of the electronic payments, all of that stuff has been done, and it's taken a long time. But aside from all the little problems, they have finally got to the stage now where it's where the rubber hits the pavement. They have the financial, international financial institutions in mind. They definitely have the resources from the World Bank and the European Bank, the Reconstruction Bank. They have the resources of the IMF. They have all the resources that they need to keep pushing forward. And that is why they're praising Iraq. And that article is called "The International Praise for Iraq's Economic Reforms, a Government Effort to Address Accumulated Errors." Basically what they're saying on that is from the past. The past is over. So last thing I'm going to get at is another praise, is that the UN, as we talk about the UN, my last video, if you haven't watched it, suggest you do. If you haven't been into Patreon and or Discord to get the articles, it'd be a good idea. But in this particular article, it is called "Politician, the UN and International Praise for Sudanese Government and Its Achievements Are Unprecedented." That sounds pretty big, right? Because of all those things I just said, that sounded pretty unprecedented. Because if you were hearing this in 2016, you'd be like jumping through your suit. Not a purple one or a green one, but you'd be jumping out of your suit, okay? Anyway, Thursday, the international praise for the government of Mohammed Shia al-Sudani is unprecedented. The gentleman goes on and says, the briefing by the representative of the Secretary General of Iraq, Jeanine Plachard, was more positive and represented the opinion of the United Nations. He goes on to say that the UN envoy, as well as the delegates of most major and Arab countries, so it's not just a few, it's most major and Arab countries, praised the Sudanese government unlike the previous governments. In other words, this particular government under al-Sudani is getting the praise. It's not everybody else, it's al-Sudani. And remember, who was just recently talked about, who basically came out and said, Saudi Arabia, that they have taken Iraq by the hand and helped them move towards achieving 13 to 15 years of work in 1 year for Iraq to have a session to the WTO. So we're going to see how that turns out. It goes on to say that America believes in general that there's no difference between the resistance factions of what happened just the other day and the popular mobilization forces. So they blend in praise, and then they also have a little bit of truth here, which is interesting. It says, America believes in general that there's no difference between the resistance factions and the popular mobilization forces. So that's America talking, not me. Noting that the United States targeted, the popular mobilization forces with its strikes, not the resistance factions. So here, why does he bring this up? Al-Sudani just chose to put this in. It's kind of like, give kudos where necessary, or etc., or effectively give credit where due. So just so you know, you can Google this and find it, but the Iraqi faction is part of the mobilization forces. The PMF is a coalition primarily of a specific religion, a neighboring country, armed back groups that are joined in the fight against the Islamic State group after it seized large sections of Iraq in 2014. I'm just being a little bit vague there, but the bottom line is that al-Sudani is specifically isolating a faction that is from a neighboring country within their country. And so if you come into Patreon and you see some of the things that we talk about, or what the news brings, we bring the news, you'll see that there's a correlation here that just because you see stuff in the news doesn't mean that it's all one-sided, right? So anyway, al-Sudani basically today gave credit where due again, and by his noting that, and in this getting praise from the UN, and then yesterday's information about them releasing them from Chapter 7 is praise also. It's phenomenal to see that what we saw, I think it was in 2012, we thought this was over because the UN released them from specific things, but they never released them from everything. They needed to do something. And I think this is where we're at today, is that now their push is that the World Bank and the Seven are pushing them. The UN's giving them kudos. Plashert, the UN relationship with Iraq, basically stated, it's time, Sudani, to ask the UN to do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick, brief update. Glad you're here with me. If you'd like to hit that like button, subscribe, and keep what content's left to come. If you help us out, you know how to do it. Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal are awesome. And by the way, every single one of you, once again, thousands, 40,000 people almost in total, have come to our site to see just the real data from our beliefs, which is grounded in our analysis. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.